Hello everybody, good afternoon and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news, and we can do the show this morning that we can do the show I was going to do this afternoon now, because obviously we had the protest this morning. But I do want to delve into, people say, what are you talking about transfers for? What are you talking about transfers for? We're trying to get our club back. And you'd be absolutely correct. We are trying to get our club back. That's exactly what we're trying to do. But the transfer dilemma that Solskjaer plans potentially in Tatters, UEFA sanctions incoming, this feeds into the fire that we need to keep burning at Manchester United, basically, because everything we knew a week ago we don't know anymore, and everything we don't know anymore is because of the Glazers and Ed Woodward. So we need to keep looking at this from different angles, and football will be coming back. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will do his press conference tomorrow. We will play Leeds on Sunday. We will play a Europa League semi-final in a week's time. So football's coming back. You can't just go, oh, no. We've just got to get the Glazers out. That's going to take time. It's going to take everybody, but football will continue. And when football comes back and you celebrate a goal from Bruno or a win for Ole, you can't just have that elation put the fire out of what we're trying to do in relation to the Glazers. So we're going to have to work in tandem, and we're going to have to look at things from different angles. And a week ago, when you looked at Manchester United with the conversations, if I'd have done this a week ago, would have been, what we're going to do in the summer, Mark? And I'd go, I don't trust these owners, really. I mean, we do need a good centre-back. We do need a CDM. We need a right winger and probably need a striker. But I don't trust these owners to do anything. Well, you know, lo and behold, a week later, we really don't trust those owners. But what does it mean for the summer? Solskjaer will get a new contract, but everything we had in place for the summer, there's two theories here. There's one, probably quite naive one, where people think, they'll just buy us players to win us back. Well, they won't win us back, so why would they spend the money? They're not stupid. They know the damage is done. Buying us Erling Haaland is not going to derail hardcore Manchester United fans. That's not going to work anymore. So I don't necessarily think they will do that. But what probably is a bigger issue is that if Manchester United were looking to sell players, if Manchester United were looking to buy players, the money to do that is probably not there, even if it was there a week ago. Because the sanctions we could face from UEFA could be financial sanctions, could be banned from the Champions League, which is a financial sanction in itself. So you could get a straight up ban. You could be kicked out of the Champions League and the Europa League for a year, in which may as well be a financial ban. So that will impact on our transfer activity. On top of that, there are also issues around whether the Glazers have put a lot of money into the Super League and now it's not happening. That's going to lose them money, because a business works on projected earnings. And as we know, as Florentino Perez told us, the straightaway payment for going into a Super League was something like 350 million quid. So there are big issues here that we're not even awake to yet. We've had a horrible week as Manchester United fans, and also, let's not forget, we've had a horrible week as football fans, which I think is really important because it's football that they were trying to destroy. But there are horrors that we're not even aware of yet, and those horrors are going to be the financial horrors. There may well be fines for leaving the Super League because Perez says it was binding. So there are lots of concerns here. And so talking about Solskjaer's transfer plans may seem a little bit disinteresting for you, but actually what we're actually still talking about is what these people have done at our football club and the impact it's going to have on our football club. Because for anybody who was wishing of Haaland, or anybody who was wishing of Declan Rice and Varane, those realities could be very, very different now, and they've got nothing to do with you, nothing to do with the squad, and nothing to do with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and everything to do with this Super League plan that is now in the mud, but is probably going to cost us a lot of money. And another thing, just to add a bit of fuel to the fire here, I may have mentioned this morning, but I want to just mention it again. Being owned by the Glazers has cost Manchester United £1.5 billion so far. Glazers borrowed 520 million euros to buy 520 million pounds to buy United in 2005, and the club have been paying the interest and other charges ever since. £1.5 billion in 16 years. As that's what it's cost us to be bought by the Glazers. So, look, if they bought you, Erling Haaland, this summer, would you forgive them for £1.5 billion? Would you forgive them for trying to bury this football club's history and take us into a world no one wanted us to go into? So, when people say about how could Manchester United fans get hold of this club and run it? Well, I tell you what, I think we'd manage £1.5 billion over 15 years a little bit better. And look, Manchester United, as a going concern, you don't need to be a billionaire to run Manchester United successfully. You need to be a billionaire to get those greedy shits out of our club. If they handed the club to us tomorrow and we ran it properly, we wouldn't need a billionaire because the revenue streams are huge. What we didn't need is them taking over us. What do you make of the rumour Bruno won't sign a contract until Pogba does, says Aram. I mean, it's in the sun. End of that. Hey, Mark, have you heard that Sky said Woodward resigned because it was unable to get the Super League done as asked by the Glazers? If we don't get them out now, they will be fined someone who will sue, says Akil. Thanks, Mark, for the continued work. I still don't get how they managed to borrow every penny and bought the club. I have heard about Ed Woodward, and I want to go back to what we're talking about here because I think, we've got to find ways of working forward with this whilst making it about the new world we're walking into. And I think the summer, obviously the Euros, the transfer window, next season in Europe, these are things that are going to resonate with you more and more as we move forward, and they intertwine and lock with this horrible week that we've had, and that's how we keep it at the forefront of our minds. But I heard something today on Sky that Ed Woodward basically resigned because he couldn't work with the Glazers anymore in relation to the Super League. I tell you what, believe what you want, because in one way it just deflects the blame onto the Glazers, and Ed Woodward doesn't own the club. Ed Woodward's a CEO who would be sacked by any competent owner anyway. So believe what you want about Ed Woodward. Believe what you want. If you think he's a good guy and he had nothing to do with it, you believe that, because he's going anyway. And if we get rid of the Glazers, he'd never work for United again anyway. So it doesn't actually matter what you think about Ed Woodward, really. You can think he's innocent. You can think he's partly to blame. You can think he's wholly to blame. My personal opinion on Ed Woodward is that I never liked him as a CEO anyway. I think he's useless. I think he's a very good businessman, but I think as a football man, he's useless. He's presided over terrible contracts. He's recruited 4 managers. He's spent money on stupid players. He's let people go for ridiculously cheap fees. And as a footballing CEO, I think he's pretty crap. But I do not for 1 minute believe that he had nothing to do with this, and I do not for 1 minute believe that he had very little to play in this. He's the CEO of Manchester United. One thing that, and obviously you do get information from the club, you do get information from journalists, and one thing that I've heard from so many people over these last few years is that, and I never really wanted to believe it, and I've mentioned it on the show a few times, I've never really wanted to believe this, but I've heard it loads of times, that Ed Woodward walks around Manchester United like he's it. He runs the club. He's the Don. And this is what you get. You get, I don't know, I've never met the guy, but you get this, Ed Woodward thinks he's like the bee's knees. He thinks he's the boss. He thinks, and to be honest, he is the boss. He's the CEO. But he's the one everyone has to please at that football club. So you're telling me that the boss of this football club had no idea we were working on a Super League on these terms for the last 3 years, which is what Perez it's been worked on. He is massively involved in what's happened here. And if he wants to try and deflect the blame or say, oh, I got out of it, Fabrizio Romano said Bruno and Luke Shaw and Harry Maguire had a go at him, and that's why he resigned. So, look, it's irrelevant. Ed Woodward is becoming more and more irrelevant, but I always think he's a massive part of it. Do you know what the perception on Perez from Madrid fans is? Do they want him out? Says Tommy Armstrong. Got no idea, mate. Glazers out and make Twitter trending, says United Voice. And the Woodward briefs terrify me. It looks to me that he's lubing the public up for him changing his mind regarding the resignation, says Andre. Yeah, I saw that whole Wolf of Wall Street thing going on today where he says, I'm not fucking leaving. I'm not leaving. Well, no one's going to cheer. No one's going to... look, you don't come back from this week. If you're involved in this, if I was involved in this deal, which I never would have been, I would be like, you don't come back from this. You don't come back from this. But for me, I don't think Ed Woodward's a good CEO anyway. I think other clubs have got issues. I think like at Liverpool and at Chelsea, they probably actually think that the people have done good jobs. At United, we're in a lucky position that even though they've shit all over us with the Super League, most of us don't think they were doing a good job anyway, so it's easy. Would you take a transfer ban this summer to give the Glazers no way to relieve pressure and generate any positive buzz, says Gustav? Well, there is a story coming out this morning that one of the 6 owners is looking to sell the club. I don't think that's Manchester United at this point. There are rumours that it could be. I don't think it is. I personally, for some reason, think it's the Arsenal owner, and I don't know why. But I'm not so sure that it's Manchester United yet. But I do know, and I can keep updating you, and you can keep following stuff, and you'll see it yourself. I can say, even from this morning, I'm more positive this morning than I was. I'm more positive now than I was this morning about things that are happening. It doesn't mean it's going to come to fruition, but there are things happening. There's a lot of people working hard. There's a lot of people who, I think, because of this week, because of what you've done and other people have done, they've seen alliances that they probably never thought that could happen. And I think that's always a positive. People are putting their differences aside to work on a greater good. And as I said this morning on the show, this is not about what we want. I want to see Manchester United out of the hands of the Glazers, run properly. But my daughter's a Manchester United fan. And, you know, she said to me the other day, I mean, she's only 11. She said to me the other day, why are you going to stop doing the United stand if Manchester United go into the Super League? That's just stupid. Why would you do that? Why would you stop supporting your club to do that? Why would you stop doing the United stand? And I said, look, to be honest with you, if you think it's stupid, that's up to you. If you're a little bit older, you might understand. I can't, because she can't understand it. She can't understand what's going on. But one day she might be old enough and she might be supporting Manchester United in a Super League. And that's why that's why we fought this week. But also when she's old enough, she might be supporting a Manchester, might be managing it, who knows? But she might be supporting a Manchester United side that we here, this generation, put the work in for others. And that's the challenge for us. That's the exciting challenge that we must take on. What do you think about the sponsors losing faith in United and thinking about pulling the deal, says Jack? So this is where I want to get the show back on track. So when we talk about Solskjaer's transfer plans in tatters, we are talking about Solskjaer's transfer plans in tatters, but I'm not like taking us back to let's talk about transfers. What I'm actually saying is this is a reality. There are stones we've not uncovered in relation to this. There's a lot of things we don't know. I was speaking to somebody last night, a journalist in fact, and they were saying there's a lot of things yet to come out. And they said that there's a lot of things that people don't even know is going to come out, but there is definitely things that people don't know about that are going to come out, if that makes sense. And a lot of these things you can predict about. There are a lot of things that could happen, that won't happen. There's a lot of things that haven't happened yet that could happen. The sanctions could happen. We could be kicked out of the Champions League next year. We could face a points deduction in the Premier League. It's unlikely, but we could. We could face bans. We could face fines. But what we know as a fact, and the reason we will suffer again this summer, is that Man City and Chelsea are rich clubs. This is the thing I wanted to say that nobody's really said yet, because they probably can't get to this point yet, and I just want to get it out. Manchester City and Chelsea didn't really fancy the Super League. They signed up to it because they didn't want to miss out. And as soon as it became public, they were the first two clubs that were like, let's get out of this. Because actually, the deal that had been done, if you listen to reports, was more favourable to the orchestrators of the Super League. Manchester United were going to get more money than Man City and Chelsea. And Real Madrid were as well. That's the rumour that was going. So they were the clubs that were like, hold on a minute. You know, we're signing up because we want to be part of it, but actually, we're not getting as much as you anyway. And look at all this shit. We don't need this. And of course, Man City and Chelsea are rich clubs. So when this summer transfer window hits, Real Madrid are screwed. They've got no money. Barcelona haven't got any money. Juventus are struggling. Manchester United always struggle. Arsenal are struggling. But Man City and Chelsea, they ain't struggling. They've still got money in this world. Who's top of the league at the moment? Manchester City. Is that really a good situation for Manchester United Football Club to be in under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? That we're absolutely struggling every summer anyway, and now we've absolutely damaged ourselves beyond repair in relation to a summer transfer window, whereas Man City and Chelsea can just shrug it off and go, let's get back to work. So I think we are in for... The thing is, we'll never know anyway. A lot of people thought, let's buy a centre-back, let's buy a CDM this summer. We may never have done that. We had a crap summer transfer window last year. But I think the likelihood is we're going to have a very bad one this summer. Unless they do what some people think might have happen is, you know, they take loans out, they buy players to try and win the fans back. But I'm not so sure that they will do that, because they're not going to win the fans back, are they? So we've got an issue. And also, there is a reputational issue that people aren't talking about. Not only do I think Man City and Chelsea will spend money in the summer and maybe we can't and maybe Liverpool can't and Arsenal can't, but there's reputational damage as well. If you're trying to buy a player, what's the damage of Manchester United Football Club as a brand now? What's the damage of a Liverpool? You know, are players interested in coming to Manchester United when they know that the owners are basically liars and deceptive? Far better go to Bayern Munich or PSG or something like that with a bit more stability. Manchester United is associated, because our owners have associated with it, with deception across football, with greed across football. This great name of Manchester United is in the mud because of our owners. We, as I said a couple of days ago, I've been saying for weeks, Man City are the villains of football. They're ruining football with the way they just chuck money at it. They didn't exist 12 years ago. They're basically scum. I had to apologise for that, because my football club is now, in the football industry, public enemy number one. For even our own players will feel that. So I think that this summer that we're going to have, things are going to get worse. But they might. But the positive here is, and Red Devil says, I've been thinking about what sanctions we would get, and I'd take any except a transfer ban, as that would only help the Glazers, says Red Devil. Well, yeah, it's a great point, actually. I bet the Glazers will be there on the phone sending emails. Whatever you do, please don't give us a transfer ban. And then they'll be sat there going, please do. The news that one of the 6 owners putting their respective clubs up for sale, I believe, will cause a domino effect and cause others to do the same, says Connor Wills. And Josh Heems, thank you for the super chat. And Ollie saying Joel loves the club reminds me of Sansa Stark from Got saying I love my King Joffrey. He can't say anything against the Glazers, says Thomas Hatley. I want to talk about that, actually. It's a good point. I do want to talk about that. Do you remember the Carling Premier beer, says Kieran? I do. And I don't care about transfers. Football needs to reset with wage caps. A rich owner leaving and being replaced by another isn't the solution, says Joshua Harper. I do want to come back to Ollie. Remind me to come back to Ollie. But the one thing I wanted to say is, remember when we were talking all those shows a couple of days ago and all these different emotions and opinions, and I said that I would take Manchester United, and this was at the height of we were still in the Super League, and I said, amongst many things, and I do mean I would have stopped what I would have, I'll say it to this day, I would have not supported Manchester United anymore if they'd gone into the Super League. I wouldn't. I don't even know if I'd have watched football anymore, because what's the point in supporting something that's fake and not what you love? I wouldn't have supported it. It wouldn't have even been Manchester United in that Super League. It would have been the Glazers United. It would have been Merchandise United. We wouldn't have been United anymore. But amongst those conversations, something else was said. I would rather Manchester United start again in the National League bankrupt than be in a Super League owned by the Glazers. And I still believe that. And I know a lot of people believe that. And people will go, oh, you're just being dramatic. It's still way... I would even go and say now, I would rather be in the National League bankrupt, starting again with the club in the hands of the fans, than be owned by the Glazers. That's how strong I feel about this. There is no signing they can do that will make me change my mind on that. We've had enough. And I think we're not the only club that's had enough, but we've had enough. We want football back with the fans. I mean, look... This week has opened my eyes more than they've ever been opened to just how much people love football and how much people love this football club. And how did we ever get to this situation where our game was in the hands of people with no fit and proper test? We'll buy your club on debt. We'll chuck money at your club. It's wrong. We need to get it back. And people say, well, I wouldn't support them if they were in the National League. Well, off you trot then, because what we'd be left with is the true fans of Manchester United who, even if we're playing Solihull Moors on a Saturday in the National League, we're tuning in, we're watching it. Even if all our good players leave and we have to build again, you know what? Part of me actually gets quite excited about it. It won't happen. You don't need to worry about it happening. But that's what supporting a football club is. It's your identity. It's who you are. Now, you know, part of that excites me to think of Man United going through the leagues again. A pure football club again. And I think people are excited about that. I think people are excited about what we could achieve if we can get these clubs back. We need governmental help. We need all of us to be together on that. But I'm very, 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 very passionate about it. And when people say, oh, I hope we don't get a transfer ban, I want to sign Declan Rice in the summer and everything. Look, of course, that's what we wanted a week ago and that's what we probably want now. But the flip side of this coin is we might have to go through some bad things to get the good times back. All this 3-year plan about winning the titles, forget it. It doesn't even matter anymore. I would remove any of your plans because they've basically torn them up anyway over the last week. So if you were thinking, a title charge next year and then win it the next year after, I'm not even thinking about that at the moment because I actually think this next few months is going to get worse. I don't think we're going to end up in a Super League, but I think the club is going to suffer. I think that we probably will end up not having a very good transfer window. I think that financially we're going to have problems. Of course we are. And we are in a lot of debt. We've got to be really careful as a football club because the Glazers have us in debt. Being in financial trouble in debt is not a good thing for us. So again, this is another thing. If we start to have problems, we're in a lot of debt because of these owners as well. But I think that this could be the reasons that they start to look to get out. They're disliked. They can't make money. This could be the way that we get rid of them. I believe we should protest the government to try and help them put some kind of regulations. Already going on, Solo. It's already going on. We all need groups to get together and start a fund to get our club back. You have my backing, says T100. I mean, things like that are very interesting. What you've got to do with something like that is, again, you've got to be patient and it's got to be put together by trustworthy people, one source. What you start doing is getting emails about, me and my trust fund managers, we've got a great idea where you can buy these shares in a fund that'll get bigger and bigger. Yeah, bollocks. You lost me at trust. I'm not interested. But there probably is things that could officially be done by where we could start pooling funds to do that. But, I don't know whether we're at that stage yet. Mark, do you genuinely see any scenario ending in the Glazers selling? They know we hate them. They don't care, says Jake Austin. I do see a scenario. I do see a scenario where we can force them out. Yeah, I do. But I know it's not going to be easy. And I will call out every barrier that I see because I think it has to be called out because we're going to need that. I'm going to come on to something in a minute that is actually really very relevant to that. Will you support UEFA since they're going to do same stuff like Super League now? Team with Champions League history can't be eliminated, says Nikhil. I still haven't had time to read about the new Champions League process, and I'm sort of ignoring it on purpose because I think if we start going on about UEFA, we'll distract ourselves from what's really going on. I mean, look, UEFA's a battle in the future. Moaning about the new Champions League structure, which doesn't come in for a couple of years. To be honest with you, I'd say don't use your energy on it. Like UEFA is European Cup. It's the European Cup. If they want to change it, we can argue and fight about that another day. But at the moment, we need to focus on these clubs that try to destroy football. Maybe Donny would get some minutes in the National League, says Stray79. And Mark, UEFA EPL could be really clever with the sanctions imposed on the owners, such as sanctions that revenues and values decrease could push them out, says Steve Locke. Yeah, I mean, I hope the ideal sanctions I want are sanctions that harm the owners but don't harm the team, which is you've got to be very creative with that. But look, just talking about Solskjaer for a moment, which I said I would do. This morning when I was live, there was the fans who'd gone into Carrington, as we've discussed on the morning show, if you haven't seen it, so I don't want to repeat it anymore. Apparently Solskjaer had said to one of those, Joel loves Man United. Now, somebody tweeted that I know somebody who was there and that wasn't said. I mean, to be honest with you, that I've looked at that account and they're at it's like, why do you believe them? Like, their account is faceless and they know the person who was there. So I'm a bit like, are they telling the truth? Are they telling the truth? I don't know what the truth is, but the most important truth is that it's not nothing to do with the manager. The manager did not have anything to do with this. You've got to keep... It's like wandering off to talk about the new UEFA tournament. It's like talking about Ollie. It's like talking about any United player. The focus has to be on the Glazers and the other clubs that did this. That has to be the focus. If you wander off into other areas, you start dividing the fan base. And lo and behold, I called people out this morning on Twitter because I'm on Twitter and I've got people getting at me saying, oh, look, Goldbridge is part of the problem. He's Ollie out. He's saying that Ollie said this. Oh, typical, this, that. And I called him out and I went, hold on a minute. One, you're telling lies about me, which I'm very used to. That's been happening for 5 years. But You're attacking me about something I haven't done, and you're already moving your focus off from we're meant to be united to try and make change, and you're throwing mud at me about lies about something I haven't done already. This is why we fail. You've got to try. I know it's hard for people. You've got to, every time you get angry and you want to start moaning about things you don't like, switch a button in your head and go, back on target. Let me get back on target. These things, they don't matter anymore. These do. We've got to stay on target. I'm not Ollie out. Before all of this, I've never been Ollie out. So I don't know where this Goldbridge's anti-Ollie crap's coming from. Like, the United Stand community is the United Stand community. We chat every single day. We've lost games, we've won games this season. I've not been Ollie out. So don't tell me I'm Ollie out because he might have said Joel loves the club. I haven't said those words. I said if he said it, it's disappointing, and I'm sure he will retract it and change it, but he may never have said it. So don't start with your divisive nonsense, because I'm not being attached to it. My focus is on getting these owners out of this football club with a united front to do it. That's all I'm focused on. I'm not interested in slow centre-backs, a new midfielder, Ollie in or Ollie out. So don't attach my name to it to try and curry favour with people on social media that, oh, get a retweet, Goldbridge. Because I know people don't like me. I know people don't like me, and I know people don't like the United Stand. And I'm fully aware that if you say something negative about me on Twitter, you might get a few retweets, and that's what you're trying to do. But don't do it and tell lies when people are trying to make a big difference for football. Because it divides. You may as well put Glazer in on your tweet of anything you say about me, or anything you say about anybody else negatively, because you are taking it away from here. You're getting into people's head again to start having their little hate and bitterness towards whatever they've got it, and we drift away from that. And I tell you what, I wouldn't be surprised if some of these Twitter accounts out there that are faceless are run by people trying to spin it for the Glazers anyway. I mean, have you ever thought about this in your life? Have you ever thought that these faceless Twitter accounts that have got big followings, but you never know what they look like, you don't know who they are, you don't know where they're from, you don't know what their face is, but they've got a couple of 100,000 followers or 20,000 followers, and they're called at Busby's Greatest, or I don't know, I'm making them up, and people take them for their word. You know what you've got to do in life? You've got to start waking up a bit. Manipulation united. We've been manipulated and betrayed by this club. And you think that a Twitter account online that doesn't even show its face, but is being negative about me, or negative about another Man United organisation, or negative about something else, you don't think that that could be controlled by these people who are trying to divide us. You've got to switch yourselves on. We're in a war. And there will be in a war. In World War II, it was full of spies and saboteurs. We're in a bloody war here. Stop falling into the traps and focus on the battle ahead. The battle ahead is to be united and get our club back. You start falling into your little traps on social media about lies and bitterness from faceless accounts that nobody knows who they are, but they've got 20,000 followers, so they must be telling the truth. I see them all there with the little cartoon faces, or they're pictures of Anthony Martial or something like this. Who are they? It could be the bloody Glazers with all their bots. You don't know. They need to divide and conquer. This is what they've done for 15 years. Divide and conquer. The United fan base is divided. If they divide it, we can't win. And that's what they're going to try and do. So I've seen so many people that are Ollie out saying, don't give a shit about that because it's about getting change in the club. You can deal with who the manager is and where we are in the league once you've made some change in the club, and that's what we need to do. Mark, what about the idea of shorting the Man United stock price? A couple of thousand people shorting a single stock will cause havoc, says Nick Simpson. And hi, Mark, you would like to see United reforming the National League. Isn't this how FC United started after the Glazers took over? Your thoughts, says Kevin. Yeah, but FC United's not Manchester United, is it? I was funnily Ollie, and I understand why those people did that. And some people did turn their back on Manchester United because they didn't feel it was Manchester United anymore, and that is their right. And look, to be honest, if we'd gone into the Super League, I would have turned my back on them as well. So you can understand where people have different thresholds. I was finally Ollie out after the loss to Burnley just before we signed Bruno. We were far from Champions League and Ollie, plus team made have big strides. Ollie in, says Omar. People need to forget whatever someone said. Ollie said today. His presser is tomorrow. We will get Ollie's officials' words then. Until then, hashtag Glazers out, says Gabriel Nora. Yeah, but you know what? Even if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does come out tomorrow and say Joel loves the club, all right, he's right in his own eulogy in a way, isn't he? Because he's dead as a Man United manager if he does that. But even if he does do that, why would you? It'd be disappointing. You'd have to comment on it, but it shouldn't detract you from what I just said a few minutes ago. If Ole Gunnar Solskjaer came out and went, "The Glazers are the best thing ever," well, all right, you're getting sacked at some point. It would be disappointing. He's not going to do that, by the way. But what I'm saying is, this is the whole point, isn't it? Even I sort of fell into that trap this morning. It's hard to change in a new world old habits. I get that. But we've all got a part to play. Relationships that weren't probably good a week ago need to be mended for the better good. And that is what we all have to work. I've got to work on it. We've all got to work on it. But if Solskjaer did come out tomorrow and say, "I love the Glazers, I think they're great for Man United," well, it'll be uproar. But actually, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer didn't construct the Super League and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer didn't put us into debt. We're going after the Glazers here. And Liverpool should be doing it with their owner and Arsenal with theirs. What Ollie thinks or doesn't think can only be disappointing or happy. If he came out and said, "The Glazers are a bunch of tossers, I want them out of the club. Hey, Karaki, join me," then we'd all be like, "Yes, King Ollie, build a statue." He's probably going to come out and do what Arteta said. And Arteta said that, look, fans have got a right to express their opinions. What we've got to work on is bringing them back into the fold and in the work that we're doing at this football club. Very, very clever from Arteta, that. He's basically agreeing with people protesting, but wants a longer term plan to get everybody back. Oh, yeah, he's sort of supporting his boss, but you've got to expect that to some point. I think people who expect Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to come out and say the Glazers are evil, they need to be thrown in the sea, he's employed by them. What's he going to say? "I don't understand why people keep trying to trap you. I'm Ollie out, but have tremendous respect for what you do and how balanced you are. Keep it up," says Armin. Mate, I'm not bothered about people trying to trap me. I don't even really care if people don't like my opinions. I really don't care what they think, because at the moment, the only thing that irritates me about it is it divides. It takes people away from where they need to be at the moment, which is united behind this goal of getting our club back. People need to stop deflecting the blame onto the manager. We need to channel the energy into one direction, and that's getting the Glazers out. Exactly. I totally agree with you on that one. Hi Mark, did you see that must have responded to Glazer letter? This is JV. I haven't, but I can certainly read it out. And look, this is the challenge we all face at the moment. This is the problem we all face at the moment, is that there is so much going on, and we have to try and just keep doing the right thing. And the right thing is to try and get our football club back. And there are so many things going on, which I'm more than happy to update you on. Here we go. Twitter. So this was 18 hours ago, isn't it? The message we want to hear from the owners is they are putting in place the fan share scheme, which will begin the transfer of ownership to the real supporters of our club, the people who have its best interests at heart, which I think we all agree with. Oh shit, I didn't realise what time it was. I've had a right old rant there. Right. I could, the way I feel at the moment, I could just chat and chat and chat. I mean, I think there's so much to talk about. I really could. And I could just chat and chat and chat. But imagine if Bruno or Rashi refused to play under the Glazers. I don't want that to happen, Tyler. I don't. I don't want that to happen. We must continue. We've got to be really, really clever here. I mean, fortunately, I've worked in jobs before, and I'm sure many of you have, where you've got bad people above you, still got to go to work, still got to do your job, because if you stop, the whole thing falls apart. Manchester United cannot fall apart. The players have got a part to play. We need them to play, and we want them to do well. We've got our part to play whilst they're playing. The players, I feel, are a bit like stuck in the middle. They can't go on strike because their employees will go for them. But we as the fans are their voice. They've got to just keep the club ticking over, doing their best, and we'll support them. We have got to try and provide them with a better ownership structure above them, and us as well. Look, anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Please smash a like on the video. Of course, we'll be back at 8 o'clock tonight. Looking forward to that. Ollie's press is coming tomorrow as well. But as I said, I'll end the show on this. I'm feeling more. I might be completely naive, but I'm feeling more positive about the things I'm starting to hear. And obviously, as soon as those things come to fruition, some of which will be in the next sort of 24 hours, I will be letting you know about those things as well. And obviously, as I said, if people want to go and do other things like go to Old Trafford on Saturday, that's up to you. That is your right. But there are other things going on that I think are far more important and far more impactful than that. So yeah, I'm feeling positive, and I hope that some of you are as well. But there's a long battle ahead, and it's a battle we must win. And to do that, we must not divide. We must unite. Thanks for watching. Speak to you in a bit. Oh, also, check out the link in the video description. Florentino Perez. It's only a 10-minute video. Very interesting to watch that in case you think it's all over. What he was saying, I've covered it. Link in the video description on That's Football. Just give it a watch. 10 minutes. It'll update you, and it will inspire you even more as to why we've got to work harder together.